George Takei, you're in Britain for the opening of a new play, which we will talk about shortly. But oddly, for a project that involves my guest's life and times, it couldn't be more convenient, could it? Really, that Allegiance, the play which should be open by the time people are listening to this podcast,
Well,
begins in many ways at the beginning of your memories, at the beginning of your life.
indeed. And it's actually a musical. And when I describe what part of American history this covers, people are absolutely puzzled that we would be singing and dancing about this event. Uh, After Pearl Harbor was bombed, suddenly the whole country went wild with war hysteria and racism. We look very different.
Hmm.
In fact, we look exactly like the people that bombed Pearl Harbor. And that hysteria swept up the politicians. We had an attorney general in California, some people might recognize his name, Earl Warren. He eventually became the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, but then he was the top lawyer of the state of California. He made an amazing statement. He said, "We have no reports of spying or sabotage or fifth column activities by Japanese Americans, and that is ominous. Ominous because the Japanese are inscrutable."
Gosh.
That racist stereotype.
So the absence of any malfeasance was proof of imminent malfeasance.
Because you can't tell what we're thinking,
Good grief.
he said, it would be prudent to lock them up before they do anything. So for this attorney, the absence of evidence was the evidence. And that kind of thinking went all the way to Washington, D.C. and the White House. And on February 19th, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed an executive order numbered 9066, which ordered all Japanese Americans on the West Coast, Washington State, Oregon, California, and the western half of Arizona, to be summarily rounded up with no charge, with no trial, no due process, and imprisoned in 10 barbed wire prison camps in some of the most desolate, hellish places in the United States.
You, I think, had just celebrated your fifth birthday when they came for your family.
I had just celebrated my fifth birthday on April 20th, 1942,
Two.
and the it was about 2 weeks after that. My father came rushing into the bedroom I shared with my younger brother, 4 years old, Henry, and he dressed us hurriedly and told us to wait in the living room while our parents did some last minute packing with our baby sister, who was in a crib in their bedroom. And with nothing to do, Henry and I stood by the front window just gazing out at the neighborhood. And suddenly we saw two soldiers marching up our driveway. They carried rifles, and with shiny bayonets on the end of those rifles. They stomped up the front porch right before our window and began banging on the front door with their fists. My father came rushing out of the bedroom and answered the door, and literally at gunpoint, we were ordered out of our home. We were my brother and I were terrified just seeing these soldiers stomp up our porch, and then when they pointed the rifle at my father, I mean, we were terrified.
Of course.
And my father gave both Henry and me little packages to carry. He hefted two heavy suitcases, and they marched us out, and we stood on the driveway waiting for our mother to come out. When she came out, she had our baby sister in one arm, a huge duffel bag in the other, and tears were streaming down her cheeks. I will never, ever be able to forget that morning.